Welcome back to CECC. We have seen some amazing Super Smash Bros. Ultimate play so far. We're going to see just more coming right up. That's going to be Bay State versus MSU. My illustrious colleagues, what do we know about these two teams?
These are the two big dogs. These are some big dogs out there. I mean, Bay State, the #1 seed, I think, coming into this for Smash. So I wouldn't say they had an easy matchup in their first round against Florida Atlantic, but you know, they kind of cruised through it, got through it pretty fast. And then you have Michigan State, who we saw already with Linus and Lucy, and Lucy went kind of crazy at the beginning. So, Lawler said it, as we go on, we're going to get a little bit tighter of competition. And we saw some really big leads in our first two matchups. I don't think that's going to happen in this first one. I think it's going to be a lot closer.
Yeah, I think for Bay State in particular, they're a very prolific organization. They've been around for about 3 years in their third year of their program. They have like 5 top-tier rosters, of course, of like multiple titles and everything. Not only locally, but like throughout the country. They do a really good job as like a multifaceted program. Their focus is more so bringing in people of all competitive levels. Even though they do compete at the high level, I think the coolest thing about them is that whether you are casual, you're just trying to get into that like next level of competitive gaming, or you're trying to find like the team building kind of side of things, they really emphasize all abilities, which I think is a really cool program. To you know, hey, come join us. Look at it, how good we are at the top, but then also have the ability to say, hey, it's your first time. It's baby's first esport. Come hang out. You know?
Which is great in collegiate, especially. Yeah. It's a good way to have a way up. But I want to talk about, you mentioned we've watched Michigan State before. We watched Lucy specifically. We know Lucy brought Rob last time. Do you think we'll see that again, Fawn?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, like, that's a really strong character. Definitely at the top of the tier list, for sure. Definitely a really, really good character. So I can only imagine that that would be the case. And overall, great neutral control, great tools to sort of lead the match in the way that Rob wants to lead it. So I can absolutely, I think we're going to see that again.
And if you were Bay State, what would be your answer to that?
To Rob, interesting. Okay, so Palutena was actually one of those characters I had seen before that I think is actually a good answer for him because of the fact that you typically uses gyro, uses a lot of his abilities, but what Palutena has is she has a reflector, which reflects a lot of those projectiles, which is something that Rob uses to really control a lot of neutral, and he has the space and time when he's going to use that a lot more efficiently than some of the other characters because Palutena can send it right back at him, right? So Palutena is actually one of the characters that I think is actually a really, really good sort of answer for that. I've seen different times where characters that sort of like rush him down also can be pretty good. Potentially like Wolf. I've definitely seen Wolf be a good character against him. Also with a reflector. Once again, like strong defensive options do really, really well into that character.
All right, well, let's see what they do pick as we get right into this match. Casters, take us away.
All right, thank you to everybody up at the desk for introing the match. We have Bay State going up against Michigan State. So this is going to be kind of a barn burner. These are two really, really strong teams. On the MSU side, we see Okoro being the lead with either Pyra and Mithra or Joker, which we saw before, kind of a toss-up between those two. And, of course, Lucy and Linus, the Peanuts, in the building. Most likely going to be Rob and Min Min. But why don't you tell us a little bit about Bay State, the #1 seed for this tournament?
There's obviously a lot to talk about with any #1 seed in any tournament. And Bay State, I was curious, so I was taking a peek at their matches during pools earlier, but they just kind of were running over everybody. We've seen like some dominant matches. We've seen some not so dominant matches. We've seen like close affairs, but Bay State's round 1 in pools was a 9 stock. They opened it up, and Sonics was able to take 9 stocks without dropping a single one himself. So definitely not going to be easy to go up against this kind of team. They are going to be starting off with Nexus, who is going to be playing Falco, hailing from SoCal, but now here playing for Bay State. He takes that first stock with relative ease, not even giving Okoro a chance to say anything. He just says hi and then punches you in the face.
Yep, Sonic's far from the only strong player on the Bay State lineup. Of course, Nexus recently power ranked in SoCal for Ultimate. He's been doing tons of work with this Falco, man. And it looks like Bay State is really just scouting out very talented players from all over the country and trying to bring them in. So that speaks to the benefits of having a very strong esports program in your school.
I hope it to be the future of collegiate esports. Just imagine being able to be like, well, I'm going to school to play Smash. That would be awesome.
Yep. It's been in the works for a couple years, and events like CECC really bring out the best. All right, we've got Okoro struggling to land that edge guard there too. Nexus back at center, courtesy of the Falco Phantasm. Let's see what he's able to do here. Yep, side B into back air once again. that Phantasm just busting him out of a bad spot, but actually turning it into a great one for him.
We talked about how strong Joker's ledge trapping tools were in a couple previous matches with like that F-tilt, but the problem with it is Falco has the ability to very easily mix up timings on any return to stage, and if he catches you in that end lag of any of those moves, he can very easily turn it into a KO of his own. But finally, he is able, Okoru, to find that first stock, so he's going to make sure that it's not too much of a lead off the bat thanks to Nexus. 49% though, this could start looking like a kill faster than you'd imagine.
Yeah, Falco with a lot of really strong confirms, up tilt or down air into back air. Of course, you can get forward air edge guards.
Hey,
oh
guess
my
what?
lord, from the platform up throw, up air. What game are we playing last?
Might be melee at this point, based on what we've been seeing, but I guess a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, or maybe Nexus just giving me a shout-out from the stage. I said could be turning into a KO at any given moment, and as we're going to see in the Barbasol instant replay, it happened almost instantaneously. Just set up on that platform with the up air, quickly followed it up, and that was all she wrote.
Yeah, this was a really strong start for Nexus as well. Only, I think, yeah, 11%. He didn't even get hit again before landing that kill. Here we saw the side B into back air get the kill on the right side of the stage. Yup. And then it's all going to end with the up throw up air. Kind of uncomfortably early here, but Falco's combo game, not to be trifled with by any means. Oh, sorry. Yeah, this was
the
Okoru's
frame
turn.
trap up air, yeah.
Yep, but there we go. Wow, 79% when he got grabbed. Absolutely insane, and off the drag down forward air as well. Quite a string there from Nexus. Going to put a very solid lead on the board for his team here.
This has to be like one of the most terrifying situations to be in. You're up against the #1 seed. You're up against Bay State. They don't even start with like the one that you'd expect, because they've been starting with Sonics throughout most of these matches. It's Nexus instead, which that's also terrifying, mind you. And you only take one stock. Now they've got all of these other killers waiting in the wings, and you haven't even managed to get through step one.
Yeah, it's going to be a very difficult task to take this team down, that's for sure. And of course, with players like Anarchy and Toxex waiting in the wings, someone, you know, probably
somebody
looking to
crazy
fill,
is going to come out here.
Yeah, exactly. Looking to fill that middle or anchor spot, depending on when they field Sonics. It's just so hard to take a team down like this. But of course, Linus and Lucy, the brothers, the twins, they are hanging out in the background. One of them is going to be coming in. Most likely, I would guess
imagine
it's Lucy.
Yeah, they're probably going to send out Lucy, but maybe not on the Rob. I would imagine would like to avoid the Rob-Falco matchup just specifically because we heard on the desk our good friend Fawn talking about reflectors being very, very strong against Rob. Well, fun fact, Falco has the fastest reflector in the game. It's frame 1 active. It comes out and immediately sends that gyro or that laser right back where it came from. So maybe not the best idea to send in a Rob to counterpick a Falco, not even to mention how strong Falco's combo game is and the fact that Rob is very, very big.
He is a large fellow for sure, and I think we could see Falco just make short work of stocks against it. I don't know. We'll see how this one's going to shake out. We'll see what the character selection is going to be as well. Falco and really all the space animals, I think, are pretty well equipped against Rob. Oh, and I see gameplay.
I saw
button check.
Probably
perhaps?
a button check, and I saw the Falco from Nexus in the corner. We didn't get to see the camera pan far enough to figure out which character's being played. It's like they're teasing us with it. We're never going to find out until it's actually time to get into the match.
Crazy how his jacket says Alan. That is definitely not
That
Nexus's
is not
name.
Nexus's
No.
name. Shout outs to Alan, wherever
yeah,
he
whoever
may
he is.
be.
Yeah, my boy Jen from New York, man. Holding it down for the whole squad. All right, either way, guys, MSU versus Bay State. Things are starting off really well for Bay State so far, but it could just go either way. These are two of the strongest teams. First and fourth seed meeting here in the semifinals. Only one can continue to live on in the winner's bracket.
As projected, if it continues as projected, it will be Bay State moving on, but upsets happen, and they happen frequently, especially in Smash Bros. Ultimate. For a number of reasons, this game is not easy to stay consistent at, so it'll be interesting to see if they can continue this consistency that they found themselves with throughout the course of this event, or if maybe MSU can be the one to put a stop to it, maybe can start a dynasty of their own and set themselves up with a date with either UCF or their opponent coming from winner's semis. The other side, which we'll be seeing later, by the way.
Yeah, a lot of strong teams still left in the bracket, and not just in the winner's bracket either, right? In the lower bracket, there's still a ton of killers. You know, we already saw a player like Hydra getting sent to losers even after he was
almost being able to clutch that out, that
Yep.
6-stock comeback, but just wasn't quite able to do it, and might be venting his anger on the lower side of this bracket.
That's very possible. You don't want to fight an angry Hydra. I mean, like the monster or the player.
The mythical creature or the Smash player.
Yep. Okay, looks like the players are just about ready to go. We saw that nod.
The fist bump coming through, too, with Nexus making his way across the gap, the sea between the two.
Yeah, so one thing is for sure is that Nexus will be staying on the Falco. In terms of who MSU is sending out, okay, it is going to be Linus on the Rosa, yeah. All right.
That's not what I expected, but it's always interesting because Rosa, again, not a common character in the meta. A good Rosa player can matchup check anybody, really, if they're not ready for it. And we're already seeing off the bat 54% being built up, but you can see Nexus knows how to play the matchup, and you can see that because he targeted Luma. Anybody who targets Luma, you know they know what they're doing.
And he did play quite a bit of Smash 4 in his day as well. I feel like Rosalina, kind of a lost art fighting her for most people who join the community in Ultimate, but Nexus, he's been around since Brawl. He knows what he's doing here, and wow, the Nair actually one-shotting Luma right there at the end of the multi-hit. That said, I don't think Linus is too concerned about it. He's doing just fine solo with Rosalina here.
And Rosalina's solo is uniquely strong in this matchup, specifically because most of Falco's moves off stage do have a long startup. They're going to be taking a while either with that side B, that Phantasm, or the Firebird coming from the up B. Either one of those, Rosalina has the ability to quickly dip off stage and throw out one of those hitboxes like forward air or a back air to quickly deal with the Falco, and even there is able to escape a lot of pressure that Falco has to offer by just calling on their best friend Luma. That first stock goes down, and this is a unique opportunity to start to maybe even build a lead, but you got to get back to stage.
Surprised the ultra light Rosalina was able to survive that back air. Oh, but not able to survive the up throw to up air yet again. Nexus showing that is such an effective kill combo. I mean, Falco, he has so many ways to get it done, right? But the fact that one of them is off of grab, and you can't just feel safe shielding against him at high percents, that's super valuable.
That also means Nexus has more than fulfilled his role by taking 4 stocks. Usually in a crew battle, you want any of your players to be able to take 3, because if all 3 of your players take 3, you're in golden position. But as soon as one of them takes 4, the load is lightened on the rest of their team, and Nexus has done that to perfection. Trying for the 2-frame F smash there with Luma and that disjoint, but not able to find it. Nexus is going to have an opportunity to get back, and with the parry off of the jab, now has control of the stage.
Had a chance to target either Rosa or Luma right there. You're talking about how the sign of a player that knows the matchup is usually to just isolate Luma, but I think Nexus saw red. He was like, you know what, man, I'm trying to get rid of this stock right now. Falco does have some really potent edge guarding, especially that run-off forward air, right? Especially against lighter characters, but Falco pretty light himself, gonna go out to the up smash through the platform there, and Linus is gonna bring this a little bit closer to even. Of course, they're still down 5 to 6 stocks. But Bay State, this absolute monstrosity of a team, is just so threatening.
And we're definitely going to see it again in a second in the Barbasol instant replay, but I want to talk about the amount of pressure that was being exerted just by Rosalina standing there. Because she could quickly jump and use that Luma up air to take a stock, or she could just stand in place, use the up smash, or she can do any number of things by repositioning Luma and trying to get that disjoint hit. Right here, just stands there, is just waiting. Sees the air dodge from Nexus, immediate reaction comes through because that air dodge is going to auto-cancel onto the platform, and bye-bye.
Yeah, Rosalina with some of the best juggling in the game. Of course, you got Luma, you got that up smash, you have a giant vertical pillar with up air as well. So playing the character to her strengths for sure. And then he's going to take 2 stocks for the price of 1. Not bad, but of course you need a little bit more than that to bring it back against Bay State. They're still leading by a stock.
They come back in, sending in their second player. I wonder who it's going to be, because I do believe their intention, speaking to their coach a little bit ahead of time of the match, was to anchor with Sonics. They could send in Sonics now, but they have a lot of really good players. I'm not all that worried for them in any of these situations.
Yeah, Bay State, I mean, it's hard to even call them a top-heavy team, right? Sonic's really shaping up to be, I'd say, in that top 20 caliber of player or higher. As of recently, especially, he's just such a strong force in every bracket he enters. And, you know, you could either start him, you can really play him in any position, and he could probably take 9 stocks off of most teams. That said, MSU, they're built a little bit differently. For a situation like this, I feel like, you know, they could probably at least get 1 stock off of Sonics if he comes in right now.
I mean, absolutely, but again, I think they're going to be holding him in reserve, going to be sending in maybe a little bit of a stronger matchup against Rosalina. I know they have Toxex on their roster, which Ike coming through. You know what Rosa struggles against, Max? And I know you do because you played Smash 4, and it's big disjoints. You know who has a gigantic sword? It's Ike.
I do know that, actually.
I talked a little bit for you there, but it's a good assumption, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think Ike's a great pick. They also have Anarchy, who plays
Greninja.
Yeah, Rushdown is also really good against Rosalina, right? That's why even characters who lack disjoints, like Captain Falcon, for example, you can just find that one opening, rush Luma down, wipe her off the face of the earth. But either way, we'll see who is going to be coming up right now. The one thing that we don't know is most of these players by face,
yes,
right? Other than the ones that we've casted before or who have made it out to like mainstream LAN tournaments before, of course, like Linus and Lucy.
It's one of the hardest things about LAN is just somebody comes up to you and he's like, hey, what's up, man? What's your name? Oh, I know you. Okay.
Yeah.
It's always just the, please tell me what your name is because I'll know it then.
That is, of course, one of the side effects of the post-quarantine
online era,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, played so many times online, and like we've seen your bracket runs, we've seen your Twitter account, but sometimes you have an anime profile picture or something and we don't immediately recognize you. That said, we definitely recognize Linus and that Rosalina is going to be staying on. This is the second character he's displayed throughout the bracket so far, by the way, using Min Min in the first round match, or rather the quarterfinals matchup against NJCU.
Yeah, and doing a lot of work with it as well. It wasn't obviously like the cleanup character or the big starter that they had, because it was obviously Lucy taking 7 stocks with Rob, but still came in and was able to soften up Hydra for their final player to come in and just clean up house, which that's all you really need sometimes. Not every single player needs to be the crazy, I'm going to wipe out your entire team by myself. Sometimes you just need a solid fundamental player who can do their job. And speaking of solid fundamental players who can do their job, we do see on the screen there, it is indeed the Ike coming out. So I guess my prediction of Toxic stepping up to the plate was a good one.
Yeah, I think this pick makes a lot of sense. The only downside to it is that Lucy has spent a lot of time playing Ike in his career, and who better to know the matchup against his brother than Linus, right? So, yeah, this could be really interesting in either direction. I think Ike is probably favored on paper, but he also is exploitable in a lot of big spots, namely off the stage and while being juggled. Rosalina really does excel in both of those categories, as we were talking about last match.
And one of the biggest things that we're probably going to be seeing is that while Ike's up B isn't nearly as exploitable as Crumb's, it's still not the best. And when you have a disjoint like Rosa has at her disposal, one of the strongest disjoints in the game in the form of that little star named Luma, she just punches you in the face as you try and come back to stage, and there's not all that much you can do about it.
Yep, you can also just place a down air right above his head and catch him on the way up very easily. Could be Spike City for free, but we'll see. Toxic's, of course, a very strong player. He's started to come up recently, taking a win over Sharp at Collision, as we were talking about last night when we were prepping. And yeah, I mean, like that's not easy to do, right?
Right. Like Sharp has been one of the most consistently strong players in Tri-State in New England for the longest time, and well, Toxic took him down at Collision. Definitely one of the bigger breakout performances we've seen in a while. I think they ran it all the way to like 25th place at that tournament, but they're looking for a little bit more than 25th at this one. They're looking for first, as they immediately start out with like 5 up airs in a row. Yeah. And an F-tilt. That might be the stock here if they can't get back to the stage.
Yeah, so dangerously close to killing just with the F-tilt straight up there. And I love the large hitboxes being thrown out. Maybe not that Aether, though. I mean, I don't even think that would have killed from cross stage on even the likes of Rosalina as a pretty light character.
Might have been an attempt at a B reverse, but I can't say for sure. And this is what we were talking about with both being exploitable and being juggleable. Doesn't have a jump here, has burnt all of their resources, and by that point had just condemned themselves to death. If you don't have an easy escape tool to get away from Rosa as fast as humanly possible, she's just going to wait for you as soon as you touch down for the ground, and bye-bye.
And you can just see the cost of one mistake against really any member of the cast, right? Rosalina, I mean, she's got a great punish game, but I wouldn't classify her as like one of the hardest characters to fight on hit. But you saw right there, Linus got hit to 100% and then didn't get hit again until taking the stock.
Gonna be chasing off stage, looking for maybe this falling back air or the falling ether, but did at least get a Luma out of the bargain. So it's a win in my book, but is going to get caught by the double fair. Doesn't have a jump, but is just barely able to bounce above Rosa using the quick draw.
Yeah, I feel like Linus might have even wanted to get hit by quick draw, right? To stop Ike in his tracks, and then you might be able to set up an edge guard on the up B afterward. Either way, Linus trying to do his best to make this close, to bring back the stock deficit that he started off the fight with. Oh, the armor from the up B coming through. I mean, that's just such a dangerous tool off stage, right? You can either spike your opponent or just kind of like low risk edge guard them because you have that super armor.
Got buffed a couple of patches ago as well to be able to KO even earlier than it once did. Speaking of things that KO early, was looking for the dash attack, opts for the ether instead, but thanks to some good DI, that's not going to be the stock quite yet, especially not cross stage like you were talking about earlier. Despite small battlefield having a little bit close, a little bit claustrophobic blast zones, you're not going to die the first time, but Rosalina can only live so long being as light as she is. Doesn't have any rocks in the pockets of her dress.
No, absolutely not. Ike definitely has a few in his tunic, though, so you're going to see that character stick around for a while. Toxex, of course, going to stay on the screen, and now we have Lucy anchoring for his team on the Rob, most likely. Of course, he doesn't have to lock in until he comes in, right? So I think the fact that Ike and Sonic are the last two characters, pretty wise decision to go for that. You don't have to fight the Falco.
Right, that's the thing that I was about to bring up too, is you don't have to worry about, hey, I'm counterpicking myself into a very poor matchup here by bringing in Rob. No. Rob Sonic is not fun for either character. I would say it's one of the few matchups in the game that neither player wins. It's like it's 40-40 instead of being 60-40. Both of them lose, and it's not fun. But at least against Ike, Rob can have a very good time just using Gyro to invalidate almost everything that he wants to do. So I can definitely see Lucy bringing in the Rob here to try and anchor for this team. And that's not to mention the fact that Rob is a big body heavyweight character that allows you to stock tank very, very easily and make sure that you hold on to those 3 stocks like they're gold.
Yeah, the alternative here is maybe an Ike Ditto, but I highly doubt we'll see that because in the
Ike
event that
Sonic is...
Exactly, yeah. If Lucy makes it to Sonics, it's just over at that point. So we will see, though, of course, both of the twins have tons of characters at their disposal. I'd say like a minimum of 3 each, you know, Ike Cloud and Rob for Lucy, and then Min Min, Rosalina, and Bowser for Linus. Some of those characters might be retired by now, but, you know, they've been around for a long time. I've seen them play all of those characters.
It's almost a side effect of being doubles specialists, as the twins are, that they have so many characters at their disposal because there's so many interesting combinations that they can make throughout those long, long doubles brackets. But they do tend to stick to the more solid characters in singles, at least, not really bringing out the more risky picks. But it looks like the match has started, and we're panning on in as we get going.
All right, here it is. It is the Rob, of course, from Lucy. No surprises there. And then Toxex locked onto the Ike, just because that's who we played last match. That's how crew battles go, baby. And this is not a good matchup for Ike. Let's just get that out of the way.
No,
You're
not
outmatched in terms of frame data up close. You don't have projectiles or a reflector to deal with Rob's zoning tools. And if you want to talk about trouble landing, nothing is harder to land against than Rob's up air sometimes.
The only thing you have going for you in this matchup is that you have a sword and Rob does not. And even then, Rob still has some better disjoints than you in the form of his up air sometimes. Look right there, just using the Shoto D-tilt almost to completely stop Toxex in his tracks, not letting him get off that uppy out of shield that he's been favoring so much. But speak of the devil, that's Chekhov's gun coming through here. I mentioned the uppy out of shield, and there it is.
Yeah, no reason to do it out of shield when you can just armor the hit too. So there's a...
Who needs a shield when you've got armor?
Exactly, yeah. And you will see characters like Ike and Roy who have that on their up Bs, just kind of brazenly challenged landing aerials like that. Oh, I like the up tilt, but of course the trade is not what Toxex wanted to see. He wanted to get a clean advantage state. Has not necessarily a comeback to make, but in the scope of this match, he is down.
I'm going to level with you. These rolls are scaring me. Both of these players are rolling quite a bit in neutral, just trying to mix the other one up with their position. And because both of them are doing it a lot, I don't know which one of them is going to come out on top. I'm just waiting for like one of them to fake a roll, catch the other one with like an up smash, and then everything falls apart.
Might all fall apart for MSU right here. Yup, the drop zone fair from Toxex. Going to put Lucy onto his last stock, and not just his own, but the last stock for the entire team. Oh, misses the down throw up air, but still in a pretty good position here, building a good amount of extra credit. Ooh,
here's the ladder.
No, dude, you need to be stopped.
That's not okay. I'm very glad that Lucy did not get hit by that, because we might have broken the speaker system, to be completely honest with you. Comes back to stage with that quick draw, now 178%. And Max, you know what 178 means. That means full rage, and an Ike with full rage is probably a U that's not going to be living too much longer if he can have his way.
Ooh, stopping after the first jab. Toxex not recognizing the hiccup from there. Okay.
Look at that fade back there on the second jump to be able to escape. Catches the bare tipper hitbox of the up air, and now has Lucy deep off stage. No gyro either, going to have to find a way back.
He wants the up B edge guard so bad.
He wants the Raven King. He wants the Raven King with his entire soul.
All right, Lucy with the legendary 112% right now. Is that what he needs to bring this back? Oh, no. Neutral air, but nothing to follow. And the up air, there we go. If you can't true combo it, use it as a landing trap instead. Why not? Excellent juggle, an excellent job by Bay State, shutting down the competition here in MSU. They're going to take a trip to the lower bracket, but of course, as the 4th seed in this tournament, you might see a little bit more of them. Might see a deeper run.
Definitely will be hearing from them in the lower bracket, but we'll also, of course, be hearing more from MSU in uppers, as they have, or not MSU, excuse me, Bay State.
It's all good.
Yes.
Too many acronyms.
Too many acronyms. We'll be hearing more from Bay State later in the upper bracket final, but before that, we do have to determine their opponents, and I'm sure their opponents are taking a look at these Barbasol instant replays because you gotta study an opponent like this.
Yeah, Bay State really showing to be the team to beat here. Of course, Nexus starting things off on the right foot. Gonna see him fall to Linus here on the Rosa. Yeah, excellent juggle there, following up the up smash. And then, unfortunately, Linus just unable to carve enough of a dent into Toxex as the second player. And I believe that was a 5-stock finish?
5-0. Toxex finished with 1 stock remaining, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it was just like Toxex.
Oh, 4th finished.
Excuse me, you're correct. But Toxex just like spawned in off the Angel platform and was, I have bad intentions and I'm going to make all of you suffer. Was just swinging that sword willy-nilly and nobody was safe.
And that tag really ringing through there, getting vengeance for Nexus, coming back with some real fire here. Toxex, I would say, it's hard to even call which of those players was the MVP, right? They both absolutely destroyed their opponents. But guys, we're gonna have plenty more Smash Brothers action coming toward you in just a few minutes. But before that, let's check in with the desk, see how those guys are doing over there.
We are doing absolutely wonderful after a match like that. Now, let's give us a run-through, a rundown of what happened from your perspective, our experts, our analysts. Fawn, you want to start?
Sure.
He's got adjectives.
Okay.
It's all fun when it's
He
smashed.
has lots of adjectives. That's what makes a really good analyst.
Okay, so the thing is that when you take a look at what was going on throughout the matches, I mean, once again, Bay State wins with 5 stocks still in the reservoir, right? Still looking pretty good, pretty clean. It was an interesting match back and forth. I mean, started things off with the Falco and then, of course, sort of transitioning slowly into Ike as a character it is that I didn't really consider or think about. And that's something that brought up in a question in my head, which was the aspect of weight. So characters weigh differently in Smash, which determines whether they die faster or slower, right? And that's something that's actually super interesting that sort of played in my mind, is that even though Ike is sort of like a linear character, doesn't have the best recovery, it's pretty easy to be able to tell like where he's going because of the limited options it is that he has. He hits like a truck, and he hits very easily. So it's like he may have like a lack of like defensive options, but he definitely hits really, really hard. And all the confirms are super easy. So it's like even like somebody that's like playing the character, if you're watching in the audience or whatever the case is, if you want to play a character that does absolutely amazing, play Ike. There's my endorsement. There you go.
Or Villager.
Or Villager, you're right.
If you want to be a demon, I think you go with Villager.
I mean, that's true, but like you have a little bit too much to manage with that. Ike has like, I'm not going to say that. Ike doesn't require that much to think about, to be honest with you. But of course, the players are still doing an amazing job with how they're utilizing Ike, because I think the matchups it is that they were playing is where the players' knowledge comes into mind, is the fact that they weren't quite fighting the easiest matchups, like going up against Rosalina, going up against Rob, especially with a character with linear recovery. That's really, really hard to deal with characters that have tools that pretty much cover the stage, right? So he actually did a really, really good job at making sure that he kept that pressure on and then obviously took the stocks when he needed to.
This may or may not be obvious, but who are the MVPs of this match?
The MVPs of this match, I mean, I have to say, I definitely think Ike was actually the Ike player whose name is escaping me right now for some reason, is absolutely the player it is that I would keep as a whole, like as the MVP, pretty much because they were able to close out the round, right? I mean, 5 stocks left. I mean, like they were able to close out the game, close out the sets, and obviously with a very like a more simple pick, still put in the work and still put in the time necessary to be able to win a lot of those tougher matchups, win a lot of those fights that you typically wouldn't see, you know, go as easily for an Ike like that. But I mean, hey, I mean, he made it end up working, and it ended up winning this team the round. So
let's talk a little bit in general about what's on the line, why it matters to these teams to win. Because of course there is a prize pool, but we talked a little bit about collegiate esports, why it's important, what it can mean to these players. What do you guys think about what's on the line and what's motivating these players right now?
I think for the coolest thing about these programs is usually your typical esports career is only 3 years. It goes by very quickly, and for people that are going through the whole collegiate program, you know, you've got a 4-year degree, and not only are you getting the ability to basically finance your own college degree, like you are getting paid to play video games, but it's doing it for higher education, which I think is really cool. But I actually got stopped. I was trying to watch the matches, and I got stopped out there by some of the guys in the Rocket League scene, and just talking to them and what it means. And it's the ability to get that experience of it too, not just for the ability of like, hey, I'm playing video games for a living, but the ability to experience what it's like to do teamwork, what it's like to actually be part of an event. Like for a lot of people that are here, this is their very first esports event. It's their first like a convention kind of experience. Like it's opening doors and allowing them to kind of spread their horizons of what life is in a very broad spectrum. It allows them to kind of get those experiences in life that they may not have gotten otherwise. And the fact that this is like just the first time they're doing it, and they still have multiple years to look forward to if you're, you know, a sophomore in particular or something like that. I think it's just, it's cool life experiences that, like, these are the memories that they're going to cherish when they look back and be like, yeah, in college I did this thing. And when their kids grow up and stuff, they can be like, remember that one time, like, Dad was cool? Yeah, I played it. Like, it's stuff like that. I think that it's just, those are the types of memories. It's the reason why I know you and I talked, like, post-pandemic, the ability to come back to this after, you know, not being able to see. Jackie, you saw her, you know, very genuine reaction at the very beginning. I miss people, you know, so I think creating those memories and those experiences outweigh anything as, like, a real human moment.
I don't know. I mean, coming from me, I played basketball in college. Let me tell you what it means when you win on a college team, all right?
I try to keep it, like, humble and, like,
you want to be the
like,
best?
It's like, no, video games, esports, victory. You know?
No. This was my mentality when I was in college. I want to be the best player on the best team. Because if I'm the best player and I'm not on the best team, you know, I kind of got to, you know, carry, but also there's some other teams, especially when we talk about these games where it's 3v3, even in Smash, which, you know, you're fighting 1v1, but it's crew battle. So you have to have good teammates that can uplift you. And also, you know, if you end up losing maybe 1 or 2 mistakes, you got to have someone that can come in there. I mean, look at what we just saw. Bay State, #1 team. They have 2 of the top players here in Sonics and Tony Pajamas. Anarchy's nothing to shake a stick at either. So if you're the best player on the best team, that is something that is dangerous, and then when you win, it just feels even better.
I mean, this may be something of a dated story, right? But like, I feel like a lot of what I hear in collegiate esports is I'm here because I need to prove to my parents that this is a real thing, that I can do. And I think even I have trouble explaining my job to like my parents, you know? So I feel like a lot of times the story at a collegiate tournament is, if I can win this, then my family will support me or my school will support me. And that means that my dreams of a pro gaming career may be actually within reach. Do you guys feel like you experienced that?
I think you see that even on the corporate side. I mean, you look at how many partners and how many people are associated to this event, and you see people that, you know, the suit and ties and everything around are really invested. You have people that are like, oh my gosh, like this is actually a thing that I want to invest in or get involved in, because it is something that's not going away. I mean, esports in general is projected to make $1.6 billion this year. And we haven't even begun to dabble in what the collegiate infrastructure or anything else, high school, like it's still so much so in its infancy. Like we're baby's first esports still, like as I joke, but like, yeah, it's been 3 decades, but like we're still figuring things out. And the collegiate side of things, like to provide scholarships and everything else, the way that it's going it's absolutely incredible. It really is.
Were you going to comment, Fawn?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, as a student that literally was in this environment, right? Like, a lot of the time, like, it was like, video games are, the biggest thing it is I live by is video games are not just entertainment, they're a lifestyle, right? They really do change lives. They really have a lot of social infrastructure, a lot of things that sort of make video games unique to a different sort of traditional sport is that you would expect to see. Like, me being a university student, like, I had to play, in order to eat, I had to play and win tournaments, like fighting game tournaments. Like, I had to do that, like, around, like, just around Savannah, around Georgia, like, in different states. Like, I traveled and went to different places, and it actually put so much into my mind prospectively to understand that, like, wow, like, this is really, so, like, everybody loves these games as much as I do, right? And not only that, it also opens up a whole new door of opportunities, because somebody that also was in university that was like still going through the motions and going through the esports program and going through everything like that, you know, like helping found the esports program and stuff like that. Like, it was really, really like eye-opening to see like, wow, these kids like really, like they love what it is that they're doing. And so with that being the case, like it opens up entirely new career paths, like having like esports classes, like having like, you know, like it opens up the door to broadcasting, to production, to even what we're doing, like show hosting, like commentating, whatever it may be, right? Like it opens up a whole new slew of opportunities of people that I talk to that when they're still in university that never thought that they could pursue that sort of perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had to explain it to someone on the plane ride here, actually. So my favorite part is
never
that,
go away, man.
Yeah, I feel like us and the commentators, our job's a little harder to explain because we're not actually playing video games for money, right? So on the plane, these people ask me, what do you do? And I give them the most basic answer nowadays. And if they ask that second question, I say, I'm in sports broadcasting. And they say, oh, what kind of sports? And I tell them, video games. What? You talk about people playing video games? Yes, that is what I do. I'm the John Madden of video games.
Look at this guy, the most outlandish person you'll ever meet, the John Madden of video games. These claims.
Wears many hats. Wears many hats.
Yeah, and you were talking about winning. It falls to me to discuss with you your predictions. We've seen a few of these matches now. We have another match coming up. At this point, if you had to be asked, who is going to win this? What team would you say?
I mean, Bay State built different. That team's nasty.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. Bay State is definitely one of those universities it is that I would look at. Obviously, like the Twins, like also like really, really strong contenders as well. Like I think that I think that those two teams are teams it is that I would keep an eye on in terms of those universities because they've had the most sort of the biggest lead in terms of like results, right? Like sort of the biggest gap in between them and their opponents. And so like I think that's something it is that we would have to be able to look at. But I was going to agree with Lawler, Bay State for sure.
I mean, Bay State is disgusting.
Oh, boy.
They are the #1 seed.
These negative adjectives, they're demonic, they're disgusting. Like,
Michigan State is pretty nasty themselves, you know what I'm saying? But I haven't looked at the losers bracket in a few moments, but if St. Thomas, Aquinas, and New Jersey City are still alive, I'm going for the dark horses, baby.
I respect it, man. I respect it.
I do respect it.
yeah, well, let's find out right now. We're going to get into this next match. Casters, are you ready?